Welcome back to the Eflare 100k Invitational. We're going to be continuing on all of the action from yesterday. I'm tea time, joined by Michael Yumi Cassidy. Michael, some of the action in yesterday was forfeits, and unfortunately, we've already had news of another one of those pieces of action continuing.
Yeah, no, it seems as though X-Pro just cannot get it together and play any of their games. So they've been eliminated from the tournament as a result of not being able to field enough players for these games, unable to meet the schedules perhaps. But there are still competitors within our, what was a 16-team opening bracket, and we have to figure out whether or not these teams are going to continue their successes, some of them having, benefited from some of the forfeits of day one, and we'll get to see them for the first time here on the server, or also the teams that we did get to watch yesterday, will they improve? Time will only tell.
Well, Dreamscape's obviously the match we're starting off with. That's an exciting one. A lot of people are looking forward to it. We'll discuss more about them and Easy Esports in just a bit. Do Not Disturb La versus King of Losing Clutch is a domestic matchup with some crossover between teams. And of course, we've still got more action for you guys later on as well. We've got 2 pages of schedules. That's how much Counter-Strike we've got for you.
Yes, of course. And as we get further and further into the day, we're going to have to figure out who our first matchup is coming out of those upper bracket games. Of course, there will be losers bracket games as well, with Icarus versus Salo Gegerd, and of course Hyper 5 versus Young Danger to finish off our day as well. So a pretty packed schedule in terms of, we're banging out 6 best of ones per day until we get to the later stages of the bracket, which would be dubbed kind of playoffs, where we get to the best of 3s as well. But those will be only on the final 2 days, so you have to really survive and show that you actually have a baseline game to play on these maps where you have effectively no advantage coming into the series.
And it's going to be very interesting to see some of these older names. At the very least, they'll be able to get their legs out underneath them right in the BO1 phase. They don't have to come into this be like, Anubis Ancient, what the hell is going on here? Where are my Dust 2 and Cash, right? So there's that. But let's take a look at the veto for some of these old heads, right? Dreamscape versus Easy Esports. And Dreamscape is composed of Impression, who's on Impression and Splashigo were honestly the only old heads. Otherwise, some consistent names in the Southeast Asian region. Derek, JC, and Kuma Bread all in the Dreamscape lineup.
Yeah, and we're going to be going into an Ancient, which I don't think I've been able to watch too much of an Impression in-game-led Ancient much. I know we caught quite a few games of them when Impression was still a part of NKT. I do think it was kind of a shame to see Impression sort of leave the circuit, so to speak, and move into more esports organizational roles, just because he felt like a very strong mid-round gamer. I mean, just had some really solid reads on his opponents, would make these great sort of pack plays in the mid-round that very few teams in the Asia region could really harness themselves. And for him coming into a tournament like this, where, you know, he's rounding up some of the old guard and some of the newer players as well, just to compete in this tournament, you know, this actually kind of plays into his wheelhouse, because we've seen a lot of chaotic starts, but those mid-rounds can be very dicey for a lot of the teams.
And look, as far as the Easy Esports are concerned, we don't really know too much about them as far as we are aware, though they are, you know, they did recently lose out in the tournament that we mentioned yesterday, the Vietnamese event for Counter-Strike 2 that did come through. They came third place, which is not the worst. They were tied with Icarus, another one of the competitors who we will hopefully be seeing today. They did actually play a fair bit of Ancient, and versus Hyper 5, who went the full distance and did win the tournament overall. They were able to get 11 rounds out, you know, 13-11, not a bad score line, but considering that Hyper 5 themselves did get a little bit demolished versus OS Esports, if I put in some MMA mats, right, this guy beats that guy, the Easy Esports going to have a hard time.
No, I definitely think they will. I think the only person that seems to have any real sort of tournament experience, sort of bar that Vietnamese online event that we've been referring to, is maybe Cage, who I think was a part of Team Vietnam for the event in Iași in Romania, where the Team Vietnam didn't do the best, but to even get to a stage like that and to have that experience is something that can really benefit you in terms of just keeping a cool head for games that, you know, you're back in your room, or you're back in a LAN hole, and you're just enjoying playing with more people that you're familiar with for a tournament that doesn't feel like, yes, the stakes are high. You are certainly going to win a lot of prize money if you get to the end of it, but in the moment when you're in best of one phases, there's a lot of things that can go wrong, and being able to brush that off your shoulder, I think, will be a good level-headed player to have on Easy's team, because I don't imagine this will go swimmingly.
And look, when we're talking about Dreamscape, some of these players are from the old OTG lineup. When OTG split, we saw some of them going into Darkside and a few of them ending up in Dreamscape. So Kuma, Derek, and Jay were all playing together on the OTG side. And these guys, as I mentioned before, played a lot of Ancient. Kuma was one of their big, strong anchoring pieces when on the A-bomb side. He was able to really pop off every time people were coming over his way. And I say anchor, but he was fairly dynamic, right? So he was one of those anchors who liked to move around a lot, you know, move feet first, hands later sort of situation at times. Derek and JC, they're obviously some of the more tenured Filipino players, and that's always going to be some fun stuff as we head into the server to see exactly how things shape out. The Vietnamese side will have their work cut out for them, but maybe they can still make a dent here.
Yeah, I don't think there's any surprises that Ancient is one of the maps we open up day 2 with. Dreamscape versus Easy Esports for their opening round game in the upper bracket. We'll see how Dreamscape get the ball rolling with this T-side start, only having a single belt of utility, but a very late mid-smoke that looks to target maybe this player inside of Donut, who Kunde will be in a bit of a trying position, has to try and conserve his life as long as possible.
And with 3 players coming over his way, that's going to be a little bit impossible. Impression takes a man down. BO still in the back of the bomb side, good for 1, but it's come to be taken into consideration. Now 3 players rotating in from CT, but a good flash in, and Cam's going to be able to find one. No, sorry, Frostly's the one to cover him off. In the rotation inwards, Cam and Frostly are all just trying to bull rush through CT spawn while the bomb is being faked out. Impression continues to find kills, as he is showing us that his return to the server is more than just in name, it is in form as well.
Yeah, I mean, really good utility usage here from Dreamscape, only having that 1 belt, the 2 flashes, 1 smoke, and being able to couple that up with the players emerging out from Donut. there's some good scaling to challenge into CT. Even though the play didn't work out, you could see how disruptive it was for the retake attempt there for Easy Esports. Just a
Also,
composed
just to
pistol.
add, Michael, the list of players I had is slightly different from what we see on the server. Frostly was also one of the players who was actually at the IESF Asia Championships. I'm not 100% sure if he was playing with them for Romania, but I think he was over there as well. So you know what? Maybe a little bit more experience than we would have been ready for.
Thing is, it's a small drop in the pond compared to the experience pool that Dreamscape are bringing to the server.
That is true. No doubt about that.
Yeah, it's such a ambiguous term, experience. When we talk about it, we're often thinking about, you know, how familiar or comfortable you are in these high pressure situations where, you know, money is on the line, also, you know, potential credibility for your region as well. Very difficult to sometimes manage those pressures, and Kunde cannot handle all the mounted aggression over towards A, but they do find a lurking impression. That's an AK that can be recovered and probably targeted for a save on Cage, but these pistols can still get a little bit frisky with the Dreamscape lineup.
They're really looking to commit to this with Cage as well. It doesn't look like it should be the case. He seems to be just covering off the mid side, maybe to make sure that they have a slightly fair fight. Nice shot from Cam. Well done. Kuma's taken down, and listen, if the bomb blows up, the gun flies over, maybe there's a world where Cam can collect another one, and Dreamscape has to be wary about that.
I'm so traumatized that because Cam has no armor here, I'm very concerned that he might just die to the bomb, which feels ridiculous if that does happen. But he should be able to go. Don't.
If he goes inside, he dies.
Yeah, well.
Yeah. I mean, now he's gone too far.
Yeah, he tested his limits a little too much.
So Michael, one of the things about the Southeast Asian region that I really miss is because I was looking back to some of the, I was looking back at some of the players on the Vietnamese side, looking back at some of the old school Vietnamese qualifiers. The Southeast Asian names really are just there's nothing like it for some of these teams. I'm going back to Extremes in 2019, and Retland Neff were playing in these Southeast Asian lineup that did qualify, called Long Amazing Zebra Airs. Well, don't know much about Long Amazing Zebra Airs, but Cage has got his ears perked up as there's T-side players walking into his bomb site. They will not be allowed to stay. Cage demonstrating excellence, as we would be expecting from him. Flashgate will respond, but only one found. No, make it two, and with Gunda also being low, there is a possibility for this round to have been stolen right back.
Very scary. The fact that Splashka is able to get those 2 kills where it looked like they were lined up for a trade attempt. And he may not be done just there. A deep Molotov in towards Long, and it keeps these Easy Esports players contained. The flash as well, but there's nothing to couple up for the peak, so it's a Derek 1 versus 3 now in the post plant.
Derek's heading away. First kill found. Can he look for a little bit more overhead? Does start to line them up, and unfortunately just can't get the spray transfer onto the head of Cam. And despite the fact that Cage gets 3 early kills and is able to keep himself alive for long enough to maintain his anchor position afterwards as well, Dreamscape almost bring it back.
Yeah, I think for Splashka, had his smoke gone a little deeper into CT spawn, there's a world in which Easy Esports don't challenge past that smoke, and, you know, taking that long position would have been a safer play. They also maybe wouldn't have used the flash in from Derek so quickly, but this was excellent shooting from Cage to, like you said, have stayed alive for as long as he did, but also to prevent the appropriate scaling and players for Dreamscape to set up comfortably in the afterplant. A really strong performance from him, all off of that saved AK as well. Just instant headshots on every fight.
Well, there goes Splashgate. Frosty, good start. Again, CTs are putting up a fight.
Regressing though, trying to get an increase in the amount of opening kills that the Easy Esports side can benefit from. But after showing all that presence, Dreamscape are actually resetting. Maybe realizing that because all that util has been expended in mid, they've lost one of those players in that area as well for the CTs. This could be an area that they can peruse themselves, but Kunde hasn't given it up just yet.
That smoke's gonna do absolutely nothing.
They only have one more smoke here on the Dreamscape side, so them using that for this smoke into window actually kind of limits their options. Going out A without a single piece of utility can be very scary, and they're going to try and brute force with numbers, but Derek just trying his best to keep them contained, and they get both on the push. Thought there was a world in which Derek, because one had slipped past his vision, there was another player that could have been felled on the Dreamscape side, but Bayo, a kill sure before that bomb goes down, but there's still a man for the worse.
Feels like a save should be called, but they are contemplating. Kunda still going out on a mission of his own. This is ill-advised, but they are hoping that they can pull out a hero performance. Kuma on the other side, flashbang will not blind out Kunda, so maybe there's a duel to be had, but Kuma's already taken one before Kunda can even make his way over. Bio gone. Kunda all alone, too many angles to deal with, and time is ticking down low. Kit or not, there just wasn't enough time to win both duels and then get onto the bomb. 3 for Dreamscape, and Michael, I mean, you talked about them using their last smoke up in mid, and I don't know if it's good intentions or good fortune, but the CTs just try and react to the lack of middle information by pushing through, and that's exactly what Dreamscape was ready for.
Yeah, the fact that they ascended ledge just as they were going for the reaggress through to B is also kind of unfortunate timing there for Easy, but this is one of the strengths that I was kind of trying to highlight as well. The mid-rounding from Dreamscape will be very strong this game, so even though the starts may be a bit chaotic, a bit back and forth, always expect that things are going to get a little bit interesting if there's even just a one-man disadvantage for Dreamscape.
Peek out, and Kunda did have an opportunity, one that he's not able to utilize. In the meanwhile, Kuma's finding more, and although Frostley is able to pick up a gun, it's only a Mach 10, so Easy Esports, where we have been looking at them finding a few early advantages. What would have been a real big win for them would have been a half-buy, but unfortunately it doesn't seem like that'll be materializing.
Yeah, just rounding up the forces over towards A, and at the moment the CTs are split. In moments like this, where you are 2 versus 4 and you have very little information to work off of, it's very often that we'll see a player go for some sort of information gathering play, try and wrap in some capacity towards one of the bomb sites, but yeah, Cam getting his 1 kill is about as much as you could have asked for, given there was no support, very little info, and not enough early signs for Frostley to have been in the right position. Had to have gone for a gamble or a push in some capacity. And Dreamscape sweep that half by under the rug, no problems. Easy Esports with a reinvestment. But we've seen quite a lot of sort of focus from teams on just having as many rifles out as possible. It was kind of surprising to me in the games we did get to watch yesterday that there wasn't as much AWP play in general, but maybe that's also just a sign of the times. You know, the economy hasn't been the most stable in quite a few of these games, but then also, I mean, top-tier players are saying the AWP just doesn't really feel as impactful as it once did.
Oh. Impression almost taken down, but does live a while longer. Meanwhile, Kunda just continues to aggress down middle. Are there flashes to try and re-aggress? Yes, there are. Cam gets one, but his teammate's not nearby enough to double peek with him. Kuma gets 2 isolated duels. And with that, Bio will be the only one left from the A-bomb side. Good for 1, but now being enclosed upon from 3 sides. This triangulation will be so hard to deal with, while Jay is at least being kept at bay. Cage doing that bare minimum, but there's a CT aggressing through mid. Jay isn't ready for it.
Really nice re-aggression there from Frostley, but to lose another player just as they find a man advantage, this is where things can get really dicey. All this distraction being mounted over on this A-bomb site by Derek, but Impression's running over to B with the bomb instead. They get confirmation on numbers, and so Impression can knife out, get this bomb down, and could just slip himself into any post-plant position he chooses.
He's heading aggressive. Do want to see that, but at the same time, CTs are bunched up. Can Impression get them both? No! Not even just the one. Frosty will just take him down there and then.
That is a little bit, I mean, that's a bold post-plant from Impression. Knew that they were both on that A-bomb site. Knew as well that they were very likely to rotate together in that instance. And so committing to a wide swing there is extremely old, brash, and maybe ill-advised. But this time, Easy don't get caught playing stagnant. I think we were noticing that when we were watching... it was the Vietnamese team yesterday. Hyper 5. That when things ended up in these late round situations, they just all stay static. No one would get aggressive, but Frosty was a real big instigator in that round by challenging off of ledge and chasing the players down middle. Really brought the advantage back for the CTs.
I mean, you can definitely see the sort of additional experience maybe kicking in over here. Hyper 5, obviously, have perhaps been just as competitive, especially domestically, but not as much experience when you're going out against the big guns internationally. Now, though, Easy Esports have got the players at the right position inside the A site, but Dreamscape have already scaled up quite close. Splashskate covering off with the AWP, and as the donut smoke comes out, the full execute will continue. It has to be fights all across the bomb set. Already kills being traded, but the T's coming out on top. Jay and Impressions double. Leaves only Cam alone, and he's isolated away. The smoke to separate him from his teammates, and his teammates separated from the life that he is living right now as well. Cam all alone.
And probably not alive for very much longer either. Impression sitting inside of that smoke and waiting for it to fade. Cam dropped, and sure, that smoke will fade just as quick as the other, but it's all about whether or not you anticipate them to go for a play like it. Fifth round here for Dreamscape. Already a really nice start to this T-side effort. Once again, down in the doldrums, Easy Esports will not be able to muster up a buy, and... you know, I think this is one of the things we didn't see too much of yesterday as well. You know, force buy or low buy wins. Talked about the onus of responsibility on whether it's, you know, teams being good on half buys or teams being bad at dealing with half buys as the main problem. It's a ragtag group being brought in to play this event. You know, you might be able to excuse a pistol like this maybe slipping away from you. That could serve as a great propellant for Easy to restabilize.
The inching jiggle is such an annoying thing to watch. Ryforce Kuma is doing it wonderfully well. He's also very good at it. He's actually one of the players who's very good on this team and dealing with those anti-ecos that you were talking about. In my experience, doesn't really necessarily tend to over-aggress all on his own and whatnot. A little bit chaotic towards the end of things, but Easy Esports can't really find a kill.
I think more damage was done by Kuma shooting Jay in the back than the pistols did to any of the Dreamscape members, really.
He will make any sacrifices necessary to beat it.
He caught himself. He's like, wait, I'm pre-firing the angle. Oh, he's wide. I've just been shooting you in the back for no reason. It's alright, they'll brush it off. But I kind of want to see Easy show the the amount of presence or aggression that we've seen other teams implement down to the B lane, whether it's a deep smoke, a Molotov, you know, something to disrupt the default so far from Dreamscape, because they targeted it in some of the earlier rounds, but weren't always successful in navigating out with trades. But they do lose Cage over on the B bomb site, so any plans for late rounds have already been disrupted.
No, that looks like a relaxing position to get a leg cramp, neck cramp, all the cramps.
Not everybody can
struggling with that a bit more.
I think you're just old.
I really am. Frosty, though, is maybe old in Counter-Strike, yes. He was playing even back in 2019, having Wikipedia pages from back then. So, you know what? Maybe it's time to put that age to good use. BO is gone, so youth hasn't really been utilized, but this aggression on the A side will find nothing. It'll be a very late rotation as a result of it, and when we see Frosty isolated on B, there is very little he can actually do. Util coming over, at least there isn't a flashbang to be used, so he shouldn't be blind, but he's still turning away from it, and he just loses out on the duel. Jay and Impression give him a quick old double swing, 1-2. And the only loss so far is Derek, and they're 2 versus 4. The CTs are already fighting into an AWP that is scoped into their exact position. Splashgate will lose his life, but still Have the round recovered by his teammates.
Didn't get their hands back on that AWP, so Splashka will have to reinvest. That's not a small drop in the ocean for the Dreamscape economy, but you're gonna have to see consecutive rounds won out here from Easy Esports before you even consider the money breaking here from the T-side effort. Only 3 more rounds remaining in this half, and at the moment all signs are pointing to Dreamscape dominance here on Ancient. Some solid shooting from Splashka on the AWP, but some also surprising misses on some of the peaks we've had. It's strange. It's almost like when he's been off camera, he's hitting everything, but when he's on camera, he's just been, I don't know, we've seen more misses than hits.
I have to say, Michael, I am quite impressed with the fact that Impression has picked things up all over again.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't expecting him to lead in kills, but he's right up there with Splashka.
Yeah, maybe it's going to be impressive, not impression. Ha ha ha. Bio's dead. And I.
Yeah, I called Jay deodorant because Bio's gone.
Well, I'm not going to continue on the bad puns. That was a cold shot from Frostly. Impression, though, continues forward. Cage down, Frostly, AK, and he's trying to rotate in from A main. So if there's going to be any delay in the bomb plant that they're able to force out, maybe there's a world where it can be effective, but no. Unfortunately, he's lost by a millisecond, and Jay will take 2 heads out and now be zoned right into Frost's positions. Frost, however, does actually manage to sideline him, and Impression was expected, but not actually brought down.
Yeah, that is a pretty niche timing that was hit there from Frostly, because Impression was coming to pick up the flank from A main, but even though Jay was aware that that was a possibility, still gets caught out, but that trade is about as simple as it gets really there from Impression. Yeah, they're simply getting picked apart. I think the real trying issue here for Easy Esports is, unfortunately, in these more recent rounds, they're losing an opening man in the opening 20 seconds, and it's really a struggle on a map with this wider rotation arc as Ancient to recover that. Impression, once again, getting the ball rolling, and in fact, doubling up inside of middle. You can see just how quick-footed they are to evacuate from their bomb sites, and no one's been able to really hold their spot. Cage, the last man standing, but doing a great job on this AWP. 2 kills, and they're having to really respect it, because that bomb is miles away, and he has more than enough time to chew this Dreamscape roster down a few bites. The AWP from Splashka finally dealing with him. Cage has had some solid multi-kills on that B-bomb site, but they have been far and few between.
We've had moments of brilliance, right? Cage has had a couple of early opening picks as well. Frosty's had a few of those too, but unfortunately, Easy Esports has really struggled to even close out on the rounds where they were able to find a lead early on. And look, this one is just a whatever multi-kill more than anything else. It's pretty. It is pretty, but it doesn't lead to much.
Nading at the smoke. Kuma catching Kunde, looking for that information. And Impression, once again, just moving up through ledge, and just put Impression on ledge every round, apparently. Double kill once again through middle. Oh.
Wow.
Well, that's a nice little gift.
Yeah, it does come with some terms and conditions. It's like being gifted a Ferrari but not being able to pay tax on it. Bio's really struggling to find his wallet. Where can I pull out the dollars and pennies from? No kills to be found for him, and well, that's the IRS. They've come and taken your car right back.
I'm gonna say, who's gonna gift you a Ferrari and then say you don't have to pay taxes on it? That sounded ridiculous, and it has been a bit.
You do have to pay taxes on it. That's the problem.
Oh, I know. I swear you said you didn't have to pay taxes. I was like, wait a second. That sounds like there are no terms and conditions at all. In fact, but unfortunately, the conditions for Easy Esports here are this opening round game against Dreamscape was a necessity, and unfortunately, their potential embarrassment was also on the docket.
Those are some stern eyes.
He's seen things, Splashgate. A lot of them
At
with
least
impression.
his agent definitely has.
Yeah, what a
Up on
duo.
the B-bomb side.
That boot
Yeah.
Dreamscape duo and Splashgate and Impression really
Oh.
leading the way, but Impression is really just on a heater himself. I thought this man was going to be just in-game leading and leading from the back while his teammates run about and have a good time, but he's here to have the time of his life first.
Oh, Jay. Well, more freebies making their way over to him. It is labored, so Frosty gets time to recover, but Kuma is actually the next casualty for him. It has all fallen apart. Maybe Splashgate and Impression, the booty duo, as you mentioned, can actually get back into things. It could also be the dreamy duo, right? It's Boot, Dreamscape. Which one do you want to go with?
No one's ever calling them the booty duo, but maybe this will be around best served thick. This is terrible now. They had to concede so much control of the A-bomb site, and Splashgate's put himself in excellent position to cancel this plant. Frostly, oh god, should have been a free kill, and Splashgate finally combining for it. Between Splashgate and Impression, 4 kills, but Impression doing most of the heavy lifting. A triple for, I don't even know if he's in-game leading. He's the star player.
Oh. Mikey, you guys have bank holidays in the UK, right?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to have a bank break after this one, which is we're going to have about 2 hours off because we had another forfeit, unfortunately. So I'm going to take 2 hours to go to the bank, and you guys should too.
Okay, well.
Honestly, it's the only transition I had.
This is the thing with being freelance is all the days are the same. I see dates,
Yep.
not days of the week.
I don't see many dates either, if you know what I mean. Bio's gone, Jay, the man today, come down.
You're married.
I know. How am I going to date? That's the point.
I mean, I would hope so, you know, like...
Impression. He's also married, and, well, he is married to the game, and he is buried in the game as well, only to be avenged.
Yeah, this has been all Dreamscape, all map. Still some nice flashes in the pan here for Easy Esports, but this is definitely one of the harder teams to have to face in the opening round. And we have a few favorites that we'll have picked out ourselves just from, you know, player experience, caliber, recent performances in, you know, active teams that are still competing for international opportunities. Dreamscape is not one of those teams that's active per se, but we're definitely some of the front runners of a bygone era. And Easy Esports just simply don't have the metal nor the experience to combat all of this team play. I mean, just fantastic work once again, forcing the fights against Easy Esports. This is feeling like a done deal, a 2-on-5 for Cam and Cage. This would be a highlight if they are able to pull it together, but Dreamscape are just not giving them an inch, just continuing to force fights, and it could have proved to be their undoing, but it's not looking likely.
What?
A flank was already accomplished via Jatesy, and Dreamscape throw them out of the water, a 13-2 showing on Ancient.
Michael, it is 13-2, right? It is a one-sided game. But at least there were about 3 or 4 rounds where it did look like Easy Esports probably threw the round instead of having lost it just by sheer team play and whatnot, right? Maybe there's still some solace to take out of that if you are on the Easy Esports guys, right? You know, you just say, we just threw so many rounds, right? That was the problem, not the fact that we were sort of outmatched. Maybe there's some cope that you can get in for the rest of your tournament.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some mismanaged rounds. I hate the term through rounds because it's so, you know, ambiguous. There's so many things that can go wrong in Counter-Strike, whether it's communication, spacing, utility usage, you know, aim. These are some of the... I'm not saying that those are all the things that happened for them, but, you know, there are certain moments where you'll reflect on the demos afterwards and think, well, this is a round that we would win in typical circumstances, but we just couldn't pull it together in this instance. And so Easy are probably just going to have to push this one aside. Yes, this is one of the more experienced teams that they went up against, and yes, there were rounds that they could have won, but this was also the result I think we were expecting coming in, given the caliber of players that Dreamscape brought into the tournament.
Well, listen, also at the same time, you have to consider Dreamscape is easily one of the 3, maybe even top 2 favorites going into this tournament, right? Michael, you said that Dreamscape hasn't been playing together that much recently, but outside of Impression and Splashgate, the rest of the 3 have been, right? Kuma, Derek, and Jay have been playing on teams together and everything as well. And look, Impression was on top of the Asian scene. Let's not forget, NKT's nosedive happened after Impression left. They were never the same. NKT was easily one of the top 3 teams, maybe top 4 at worst in Asia before. Now they're not even considered top 5, despite, you know, a lot of great talent having gone through those same doors. So this is where I will continue to point out and remind people, game does go away sometimes, the brain really doesn't, right? So this be very impactful throughout this tournament. And look, obviously right now it didn't feel like it was necessarily the biggest part of what Dreamscape had to offer, considering that he brought in 21 kills by the end of the game. I think he should be our MVP as well. Yeah, there you go. Impression, the MVP, 3.5 KDR. So yeah, he's definitely a favorite to take this one home.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I said it in the pre-show as well. It was kind of a shame to see Impression go to managerial duties or go into esports organizational work instead of sort of continuing as a player. But you know, these are some of the decisions you have to make as well as an aspiring pro. You know, occasionally you have to maybe take that step back. CS2 is a new dawn, and listen, just because you're ahead of an esports division, I get it. You know, it's responsibilities. It doesn't mean you also can't compete on the side, and I love that Impression was able to show best face on our debut back with him on what is a Dreamscape revival of that Singaporean brand that was once a very revered and feared name within the Asia region.
And it is a fun time, and we're going to be very... honestly, I'm just so happy that we can see all of these names back on the server. I'm going to keep on stressing this again and again. That is one of the great things about, you know, the SDA focus that's sort of coming in with the 100K Invitational. It
was surprisingly both of the returners, you know, that were both the players that just looked like they continue back on the old grind, back on the bicycle, never learned or never... forgot how to ride it. Both Splashgate and Impression, very impressive this game.
Yeah. And it's also great to see them perform like that, because, you know, before there was definitely some concern in my mind that, oh, is this going to be a one-horse race? Is On-Gay Warriors just going to be the one to come through and sort of dominate everything? They are sort of the remnants of the NKT lineup, along with a few of the better Indonesian players, right? But no, I think there's going to be some legitimate competition. We saw some great stuff from Darkside yesterday. We haven't seen Old Goats play yet. Dreamscape is obviously looking good right now. And there's a lot more teams to watch out for that might be looking good. But we are actually going to close down the stream for now. We're going to be back at 6:30 p.m. SGT, that is Singaporean time, which I believe is in 3 hours from now. So, like I said, we're going to take a break and see you guys in a bit. Make sure you verify that. My time zones aren't the best, and I know Michael's definitely aren't either. So, yeah, you know what, guys? Google is your friend. We might not be. We're going to see you guys in about 3 hours, hopefully. And, yeah, peace out.